The airport terminal hummed with nervous energy at 7:45 p.m. on a rainy Friday. Rain streaked the large glass windows, blurring the flashing orange and red lights of the service vehicles on the tarmac outside. Elias Vance adjusted the strap of his worn leather satchel on his shoulder, feeling the deep ache of a long work week settle into his bones. He wasn't just another tired traveler tonight. He was a proud parent. Parked at Gate B12, gleaming under the stadium lights, was the Horizon 7X, an absolute masterpiece of modern aerodynamics that he had spent the last decade of his life helping to create. Before we begin, tell us in the comments where in the world you're watching from. Elias had Ticket 3A in his hand, a first-class seat he had purchased as a treat to celebrate the aircraft's first month of full commercial service. He was dressed casually in a comfortable gray hoodie and dark jeans, preferring comfort over style for the cross-country flight. As he stepped onto the jet bridge, the familiar smell of aviation fuel and recycled air hit him, a scent that usually brought him comfort. He approached the aircraft door, running a hand affectionately along the fuselage just inside the entryway. He knew the exact alloy composition of the metal under his fingertips. He knew the stress tolerances of every rivet holding it together. Stepping onto the plane, the cabin lighting was soft and welcoming. A flight attendant, whose name tag read Sarah, was standing by the galley, looking stressed as she directed the flow of boarding passengers. Elias smiled politely and moved toward the first-class cabin. He stopped at row 3 and lifted his leather satchel to place it in the overhead bin. The bag was heavy, filled with technical blueprints he hadn't wanted to trust to check luggage. "Excuse me, sir." Sarah's voice cut through the quiet hum of the cabin. It wasn't a friendly greeting. It was sharp with accusation. Elias paused, the bag halfway into the bin. He turned to see her standing in the aisle, her arms crossed, a deep frown etching lines around her mouth. "That bag is way too big for the overhead. You'll need a gate check it. Economy bins are already filling up." Elias looked at his bag, then back at her. He remained calm, his voice smooth and level. "Actually, ma'am, it fits perfectly. It's exactly 22 inches by 14 inches. It was designed specifically to fit in this aircraft's overhead compartments." Sarah's eyes narrowed. She seemed deeply offended that he was questioning her judgment. She looked him up and down, her gaze lingering on his hoodie. "Sir, I know what fits and what doesn't. I fly on this plane every day. You're holding up boarding. Give me the bag and go take your seat in the back." Elias felt a prickle of heat on the back of his neck. "My seat isn't in the back," he said softly, holding up his boarding pass. "I'm in 3A. Right here." The flight attendant snatched the ticket from his hand, her eyes widening slightly as she saw the seat assignment. Instead of apologizing, however, her posture stiffened even further. It was as if his ticket made her angrier. "Regardless of where you're sitting, the bag is a safety hazard. You're being non-compliant. I need you to lower your voice and hand over the bag, or you'll be removed." Elias hadn't raised his voice at all. He looked around. Other passengers in first class were staring, some whispering behind their hands. The feeling of humiliation began to burn in his chest. He knew this plane better than anyone on board. He knew that the overhead bin latch mechanism had a secondary locking feature that required a firm push, something the flight crew often forgot. "Ma'am, please," Elias tried one more time, keeping his hands visible and non-threatening. "If you just let me push it back, you'll hear the secondary click. It's designed to handle 50 pounds of dynamic load. It is perfectly safe." "That is enough," Sarah snapped. She reached for the interphone on the wall. "Captain, we have a disruptive passenger in first class refusing crew member instructions. I need security at the gate immediately." The cabin fell deathly silent. Elias felt his stomach drop. It wasn't fear. It was a profound sadness mixed with sharp frustration. He had poured his soul into building a machine meant to connect people. Yet here he was being treated like a criminal inside his own creation because he didn't look the part of a first-class passenger or an expert. Within minutes, 2 burly airport security officers appeared at the aircraft door. Sarah pointed a shaking finger at Elias. "Him! Get him off my plane." One of the officers approached. "Sir, grab your things. You need to come with us." Elias looked at the officer, then at the beautiful curved ceiling of the cabin he had modeled on a computer screen years ago. He knew that arguing further would only make things worse. With a heavy sigh, he pulled his satchel down from the bin. He walked down the aisle, feeling the weight of 100 pairs of eyes on him. It was a walk of shame he didn't deserve. The cool evening air of the jet bridge felt like a slap in the face as he was escorted back up to the terminal gate. At the gate counter, a stern-faced airline agent named Mr. Henderson was waiting. The security officers deposited Elias in front of the podium like a sack of unwanted mail. "Mr. Vance," Henderson began, his tone dismissive, "your behavior has caused a significant delay. The flight attendant reported you were aggressive and refused to check an oversized bag. You're going to be placed on the no-fly list pending an investigation, and you'll need to find another way home tonight." Elias took a deep breath, fighting the urge to scream. "I wasn't aggressive. I was explaining the specifications of the overhead bin." The flight attendant wouldn't listen. "She is a trained professional who knows the aircraft," Henderson retorted, not even looking up from his computer screen. "You are a passenger. You do not know the aircraft better than the crew." Just then, the door to the jet bridge swung open again. The captain of the flight, a tall man with graying hair and 4 gold stripes on his shoulder epaulets, strode into the terminal area. He looked furious about the delay. He glanced at his watch. It was now 8:17 p.m. "What on earth is going on out here?" the captain demanded, his booming voice silencing the gate area. "We are burning fuel at the gate and missing our departure slot. Sarah is shivering in the galley, saying she was threatened. Where's the passenger?" Henderson pointed a pen at Elias. "Right here, Captain Davies. We are handling it." He was arguing about bag storage. Captain Davies turned his stern gaze toward Elias. He looked ready to deliver a harsh lecture, but as his eyes landed on Elias's face, the captain stopped cold. He squinted, tilting his head slightly. The anger in his face was suddenly replaced by confusion. Elias returned the gaze steadily. "Captain Davies," Elias said calmly, "before you left the cockpit, did you happen to notice the yacht damper indicator flickering on your primary flight display? It's a known glitch in the beta software of the avionics package. A hard reset usually fixes it, but you might want to log it." The captain's jaw practically hit the floor. The gate area went dead silent. Henderson looked from the captain to Elias, his mouth agape. "Ow!" Captain Davies stammered, completely caught off guard. "How could you possibly know that? That's not public information. Who are you?" Elias shifted the heavy leather satchel on his shoulder. "My name is Elias Vance. I am the lead aerospace engineer for the Horizon 7X program. I led the team that designed the airframe structure and integrated those avionics systems you're looking at right now." He paused, letting the words hang in the air. "And I was trying to tell your flight attendant that the overhead bin in first class is rated for 50 pounds and has a secondary latch for security, which is why my bag fit perfectly." The color drained from Captain Davies' face. He looked at the plane outside the window, then back at the man standing before him in a hoodie and jeans. The realization hit him like a physical blow. They had just thrown the architect of their vessel off his own ship. Henderson, the gate agent, was furiously typing on his keyboard, likely looking up Elias's name. His typing suddenly stopped. He gulped audibly. "Mr. Vance," Captain Davies said, his voice completely changed. It was no longer commanding. It was filled with horrified respect and deep embarrassment. "Sir, I don't even know what to say. I recognized you from the engineering briefings last year. You gave the keynote address." "I did," Elias said quietly. The captain turned to the gate agent, his fury returning, but this time directed away from Elias. "Henderson, get Sarah up here. Now." He turned back to Elias, pulling off his pilot's cap and running a hand through his hair. "Mr. Vance, on behalf of this entire airline, I offer my most profound apology. This is inexcusable, a catastrophic failure of judgment on our part." The flight attendant, Sarah, appeared at the door of the jet bridge, looking pale and defensive. "Captain, you wanted me." Captain Davies motioned toward Elias. "Sarah, do you know who this gentleman is?" She wouldn't look at Elias. "The disruptive passenger from 3A. "No." The captain said sharply. "This is Mr. Elias Vance. He designed the plane you were standing in. He built the overhead bin you told him he didn't understand." Sarah's head snapped up. She looked at Elias, her eyes wide with shock. The arrogant facade crumbled instantly, replaced by a look of pure mortification. Her hand went to her mouth. "Oh," she whispered. "Oh my God." Elias felt the tension leave his shoulders, replaced just by exhaustion. He didn't want revenge. He just wanted to go home. "It's a good plane, Sarah," Elias said gently. "Trust the engineering. It won't let you down." Captain Davies stepped forward. "Mr. Vance, please, allow me to escort you back on board. We will delay as long as it takes to make this right. And I assure you, a full report will be filed regarding this incident." Elias nodded slowly. The walk back down the jet bridge felt very different this time. The captain walked beside him, carrying his leather satchel. When they re-entered the plane, the cabin went silent again. Captain Davies stopped at the front of the cabin and picked up the public address interphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I want to apologize for the delay and the earlier disturbance. We made a severe mistake tonight. We have the distinct honor of having Mr. Elias Vance on board with us. He is the lead engineer who designed this magnificent aircraft. We are grateful he is here to ensure we have a smooth flight." He placed the interphone back in its cradle. The flight attendant, Sarah, was standing by row 3, looking at the floor, tears in her eyes. "Mr. Vance," she whispered as he approached. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know." Elias took his ticket back from her shaking hand. He looked at her, then up at the sleek, curved ceiling of the cabin. "The plane doesn't care what you look like, Sarah," Elias said softly, placing his bag into the bin and pushing it until the loud, distinct click of the secondary latch echoed in the quiet cabin. "It only cares about physics. We should all try to be a little more like the plane." He sat down in seat 3A and buckled his seatbelt, ready to fly on the wings he had built.